Imagine waking up to news headlines proclaiming Jesus Christ returns to earth today. It's a headline that would undoubtedly stop you in your tracks, your morning coffee freezing halfway to your lips. The world would be in a state of utter shock, disbelief etched on faces from New York to New Delhi. People would likely drop their everyday routines to absorb the gravity of the news. The global reactions would be a spectacle in itself. Some would be filled with joy, their faith affirmed like never before. Others would be gripped by fear, unsure of what this could mean for humanity. The rest, perhaps the skeptics, would be caught between a state of incredulity and curiosity, their brows furrowed as they try to make sense of the situation. Social media platforms would be ablaze with the news, hashtags proliferating like wildfire. Theories would be bandied about, each more sensational than the last. Some would claim it's a hoax, a plot hatched by some ingenious prankster with a knack for deepfakes and viral marketing. Others would scream conspiracy, pointing fingers at governments and secret societies, their minds spinning intricate webs of intrigue and deception. Yet, there would also be a group of people who would see this as divine intervention. Their hearts would be filled with hope and reverence, their prayers whispered in hushed tones filled with awe. They would see this as the fulfillment of a prophecy, a miracle that was foretold centuries ago. Their faith would be their guiding light in this time of global confusion. News channels would have a field day, their screens filled with images of the man claiming to be Jesus. Scholars, theologians and skeptics alike would pore over every word, every gesture, attempting to authenticate or debunk the claim. In the midst of this global tumult, the man at the center of it all, the one claiming to be Jesus, would begin to speak. His voice would echo around the world, reaching every corner, every heart. As the world grapples with this news, the man claiming to be Jesus begins to speak. In a voice that resonates with compassion and wisdom, the man begins to deliver his message. His words, like a balm for the weary and the burdened, echo across the world. He speaks of love, a love so profound and all-encompassing that it transcends the borders of countries, the boundaries of religions, and the very fabric of time itself. A love that does not discriminate, does not judge, and does not harbor resentment. A love that seeks to heal, to unify, to embrace. He speaks of forgiveness, a concept so simple yet so profound. He urges us to let go of the shackles of the past, to free ourselves from the chains of resentment and bitterness. He tells us that forgiveness is not just an act of mercy towards the one who wronged us, but a gift of peace we give to ourselves. He speaks of unity, of the interconnectedness of all beings. He reminds us that we are not separate entities, but parts of a whole, threads in the tapestry of existence. He tells us that in our pursuit of individuality, we must not forget our shared humanity, our collective responsibility towards each other and the world at large. He speaks of peace, a state of being that goes beyond the absence of conflict. He tells us that peace is not just about resolving disputes and ending wars, but about fostering understanding, promoting tolerance and cultivating harmony. He tells us that peace begins within, and only when we find peace within ourselves can we truly bring about peace in the world. His words, though rooted in Christian theology, transcend religious boundaries. They resonate with people of all faiths and none with believers and skeptics alike. His message, universal in its appeal, is a call to awaken the best in us, to bring forth our higher selves, to be the change we wish to see in the world. His words, regardless of their authenticity, bring a wave of introspection across the globe. Following the profound message, the world begins to change. Imagine a world where the air is no longer thick with tension, but instead filled with a new sense of unity and compassion. People start to treat each other differently. No longer are we divided by the superficial barriers of race, nationality, or religion. Instead, we see each other for what we truly are. Humans share the same earth, the same dreams, and the same fears. We begin to understand that kindness is not a sign of weakness, but rather a sign of strength. It becomes the currency of our interactions, replacing anger and hatred. We learn to listen, to understand, and to forgive. We learn to love, not just those who are easy to love, but also those who have wronged us. In this new world, the Golden Rule is not just a saying, but a way of life. Imagine a world where the sound of gunfire and explosions is replaced by the sound of laughter and joy. The borders that once divided us become mere lines on a map, as wars cease and peace prevails. We realize that our differences are not a reason to fight, but rather a reason to celebrate. We understand that we are stronger together than we are apart. But this change is not just social, it is also environmental. We begin to see our planet not as a resource to be exploited, but as a home to be cherished and protected. We realize that we are not separate from nature, but a part of it. We understand that by harming the environment, we are harming ourselves. The skies become clearer, the forests grow denser, and the oceans become cleaner. We finally understand the true meaning of stewardship. This is the impact of the return. A world transformed, not by divine intervention, but by a change in our hearts and minds. A world where we finally understand what it means to love our neighbor as ourselves. The world, it seems, has found a new path to follow. Yet amidst the newfound peace, questions begin to arise. Just as the sun cannot shine without casting a shadow, so too does the arrival of this extraordinary figure cast a shadow of doubt across the world. The human mind is a curious entity, always probing, always questioning. Even in the face of miracles, there are those who would poke and prod, seeking the truth behind the spectacle. Skepticism, a healthy trait in most circumstances, begins to rear its head. Debates are sparked in academic circles, on social media platforms, in quiet living rooms. Scientists, philosophers, and the common man alike ponder the same question. Is this truly the return of Jesus, or is it an elaborate ruse? In this climate of uncertainty, the world finds itself divided. On one side, the believers, those who accept the miracles and messages at face value, their faith unshaken. They see in this man the fulfillment of age-old prophecies, a beacon of hope in a world fraught with turmoil. On the other side, the skeptics, armed with logic and reason, demand proof. They question the authenticity of the miracles, they dissect the messages, hunting for inconsistencies. They fear the possibility of a grand deception, a wolf in sheep's clothing. This division is not a quiet one. It grows, a storm brewing on the horizon, threatening to disrupt the peace that had just begun to settle. Tempers flare, voices rise in heated debate, the tension palpable. The world stands on the precipice of conflict, a tinderbox waiting for a spark. Yet, even in this whirlwind of doubt and division, there is a calm. A figure stands at the heart of the storm, the eye of the hurricane. He watches the turmoil with a serene gaze, understanding the questions, the fears, the skepticism. He sees the division, the brewing conflict, and he prepares to address it. As doubt and division grow, the man once again steps forward. Facing a world teetering on the brink of conflict, the man delivers his final message. In the midst of turmoil and uncertainty, he speaks with a calm and gentle voice, like a soothing balm on the world's festering wounds. His words, they echo around the globe, transcending barriers of language, culture, and creed. He talks about faith, not merely in the divine, but in each other. He urges humanity to believe, to trust in the goodness that resides in every heart, to have faith that we can rise above our petty differences and conflicts. His voice then shifts to love, a concept so simple yet so profound. He reminds us that love is not just a feeling, but an action, a choice. It is choosing kindness over hatred, compassion over indifference, forgiveness over revenge. Love, he explains, is the force that binds us together, the thread that connects every soul. The man speaks of unity, of the need for humanity to stand together. He paints a vivid picture of a world where unity isn't merely a concept, but a reality. A world where every individual, every nation works towards the common good, where we celebrate our diversity, and yet are bound by a shared sense of purpose. And then, as mysteriously as he appeared, the man disappears. He leaves behind no physical trace, no tangible proof of his existence. But his words, his teachings, they linger. They echo in our minds, resonate in our hearts. The world is left with a profound choice, to heed his message or ignore it, to embrace his teachings or discard them. He may have vanished, but his impact remains. His words have sparked a global conversation, ignited a flame of hope in many hearts. They have brought people together, bridged divides, healed old wounds. They have inspired change, stirred imaginations, awakened dormant spirits. In the end, whether he was truly Jesus or not, the man's message had changed the world.